You're in an interesting space. You're in the tours and experiences. You're an aggregator. What are you seeing? How are things going? You're in an interesting stage of your startup life. So tell us a bit more about that.
Yes, of course, with pleasure. To give a little bit of background about Hollybob, Hollybob is a B2B marketplace in tours and experiences. We are aggregating effectively a very fragmented and very disparate supply base of tours and experiences. We bring them into our platform and then we make them available for distribution through resellers, through consumer-facing travel brands. So if we look at some of the other travel verticals in flights, in B2B distribution, we have the likes of Amadeus and Sabre. In hotels, we have hotel beds and web beds, and then in cars and transfers, we have Car Trawler, and then we see Hollybob as being the distribution platform for B2B in tours and experiences. So that's a little bit of context there. In terms of coming back to when you asked the question the first time, from the human side, as a team, we've done really well. We've got some really deep expertise in the travel and the tech space. So as soon as Black Monday came around and the public stocks dropped and the COVID really started to hit the headlines, we were able to review our strategy and make the necessary changes to sort of ride this wave of whatever that might look like. So from that perspective, we've been pretty good. And then transitioning onto the sort of talking via Zoom and whatnot, we haven't missed too much of a step. So that's a bit of a positive spin on the whole COVID situation for you there. In terms of what we sort of see the future being like and how we see the travel industry potentially changing, I think there's probably three main areas that we're looking at quite closely at the moment. So firstly, the travel industry is going to be a bit more condensed when we come out of this, just by the nature of a recession and a pandemic of this nature. And so what I think we'll see is a lot of smaller companies, a lot of innovative companies coming up and starting to populate that space and really bringing new products, new types of engaging with the customer, new ideas to the table. So the established travel businesses, the big ones today who are still here, they're going to have to innovate in order to still compete and be on the frontier of travel and how people are going to be engaging in the travel industry going forwards. So probably one of the key ones for that is the shift in technology. So how do travel businesses get more value out of the customers that have already booked? How do they interact with the customers better? How do they bring the destinations that they're going to be traveling to the customer in a better way, in better quality, with better content before they travel? How do they utilize AI chatbots? How do they bring in driverless vehicles? There's a really interesting startup doing driverless sightseeing vehicles in London that's working on at the moment. So all these interesting little tech things that are going on, and I think the big conglomerates are going to have to adapt and absorb and bring in some of those new tools. One of the second things which I think will be interesting is the general shift in consumer wants within the travel businesses. So the fast growing trends we're seeing at the moment are people going on solo travel, people going to the sort of second cities, the second destinations, more unexplored things in and around the travel space. And then of course, tours and experiences, which is Hollybob's domain. So I think within the shifting landscape, when we come out of COVID, I think travel businesses are going to have to focus on the new trends of where things are going in order to get into those trends and catch that upswing. And then the third thing, which I think we'll see a structural difference in the travel space when we come out of this, is really around trying to personalize the travel offering to the consumer. And that links into the whole data piece that's out there. Now, big data is such an interesting and fascinating part of the world right now. And it's something that's being used in a very interesting way in a lot of different spaces. And I'm not sure if it's quite come to the travel industry yet. And I think there's a huge opportunity to utilize it. So if we look at in other industries, we see people using data that they get from transaction records, from social media data, from all the data points that are out there, and really building a customer picture and then tailoring those products to that customer. Like when we go on Instagram or on social media posts and we're getting fed adverts for things which actually we would be quite interested in because those companies are able to use that data. I'd love to see that being brought into the travel space more. The hotel businesses, the aviation industry must have and hold the data on their consumers. The data is there, it is out there. It's just a case of drawing the line between the dots and being able to trace that back and being able to offer more personalized products to the end consumer. So I think those are the sort of some of the big changes that we might be seeing. And I think potentially COVID and the event that's happening at the moment could be the catalyst for some of those structural changes.